Hey, what is going on, everybody? Pocket here, and welcome back to another episode of our Zero to Hero Challenge on our Holy Priest. And sorry this video has been a little delayed. I actually kind of debated whether or not I should do it or not because of the patch coming out soon. So now we're pretty much just racing against the clock, trying to get this, trying to get 2,500 before the 23rd of April, I believe. So yeah, here's to that. Hopefully we can finish. So we are starting out this video with an item level of 428 and a Mythic Plus rating score of 1007. And because we did some keys last week, we are going to head over and open our vault. And we had some pretty decent choices in the vault. I could not decide between the offhand or the C-Star Trinket. And I almost picked the C-Star Trinket, but then we decided to go with the offhand. And getting that offhand is going to bring us actually up to a item level of 434 from the 428, so it was a huge upgrade. And our affixes this week are going to be Tyrannical, Volcanic, and Sanguine, so not too difficult of a week coming up here. And our first dungeon to start out this week is going to be a plus 11, the Everbloom. And moving up to the first boss, we didn't have too many issues, just a couple deaths. But just a little pro tip, guys. When the tank pulls these ads into the boss, don't follow the tank. And it took me a second to realize, but we have a hunter that is trapped behind the wall over there. He decided to follow the tank for whatever reason. And so now we just gotta 4-man this while he stands on the other side and watches us do the rest of this fight. But even with the hunter locked behind the wall the entire time, we still end up taking down the boss. Because let's be honest, this boss is super easy. There's not a whole lot of mechanics going on other than just burning him in his burn phase. So it could have been worse, but now we got our team back together and we're gonna keep moving on. Now moving on to the second boss here. We did have another death on the way, but it was to DC. So the tank DC'd, and luckily we managed to kill the rest of the trash while he was gone. And a little extra time added on, not a big deal though. But yeah, now we're just moving on this boss, which is not one of my favorite bosses. Now I wanted to take a second to talk about the Holy Priest's main cooldown that they have, which is Apotheosis. Now Apotheosis is on a 2-minute cooldown, so you can use it quite often, but with the key being a plus 11, I don't really use it all that often because I don't feel like I have to, which is kind of how I approach all these smaller keys, as I never actually use the entire kit of the class until I end up going into those higher dungeons and whatnot. So, and I am no Holy Priest professional or of anything of the sort, so I'm just kind of figuring out as we go. But what I found when using Apotheosis is you want to make sure you use all of your abilities first. By abilities, I mean all your holy wards. You want to use them first, like Serenity and Sanctify, because once you pop Apotheosis, all those immediately come off of cooldown. So it'd be useless to have them be off cooldown and use Apotheosis, so might as well use them first. And then your cooldowns are decreased by 300%, and it also decreases the mana cost of your holy words by 100% too. So using Apotheosis all the time is very helpful for mana consumption as well, because now it's not costing mana to use those holy words while you are, healing, doing all that kind of stuff. The rest of the dungeon went very smooth with no other problems, and we are going to get the 3 chest on this one, giving us a score of 63 points and bringing us up to 1070. We did end up getting a wrist off of this, which is a huge improvement, and that's going to go ahead and bring our item level up to 437. So not too bad for our first key. And moving on to our next dungeon here, we are going into a plus 14 Morazan's Rise. And because it's a 14, we're actually going to have Sanguine this time, as we did not have it last time. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, the original plan for this run is I was going to make sure I didn't play with anybody of a higher IO score than me as we progress this character. but I definitely did not follow it and have not been following it, strictly based off of the queue times are so long. And I'm sure it has to do with it just being at the end of the season, but there was no way I was going to be able to accomplish this by trying to get people only of a lower score than me. So we're just going to take anyone and everyone that signs up for the keys. So we might try something like that next season. But as far as this season goes, we're just trying to accomplish this before the start of Season 4. We did have a little rough phase here on the first boss. You know, one of the things that the lower keys and the inexperienced players don't do is pull the boss over to the Oath Stone, which makes a huge difference when you're trying to collect the orbs and trying to do the damage on the shield as well. A lot of times they just leave the boss over here on the side, and it's still doable, but you're going to lose tons of DPS, and sometimes people don't go and help out and absorb the orbs. So if you can, drag the boss over to the middle, makes a huge difference. I'm moving on to the worst trash in the history of any World of Warcraft dungeon. Yep, it's this one, at least in my opinion. Any trash that respawns after a certain amount of time is terrible. I absolutely hate it. I mean, it's not as bad as Throne of Tides with the little guys near the end that respawn, but no, this is terrible. I absolutely hate doing this pull on any keystone level at all. So that is one thing I'm looking forward to in the next season, is not having to deal with this dungeon and this trash ever again, because there's no way I'm coming back here for anything either. But on a different note, I will say doing DPS on a Holy Priest is it feels pretty good. It's not too difficult, and you can actually do a decent amount of damage. I like being able to just dot up everything using Shadow Word Pain, and then obviously casting Smite and the occasional Holy Fire, which also leaves a dot, and you can pair that with Imperial Blaze, I think it's called, which will then allow you to cast Holy Fire like an additional 2 times instantly, so that's pretty cool. And then you have the occasional Divine Star that you can shoot out, do some damage and healing at the same time. So I think it's a fun, simple rotation that you can just jump in between doing damage and healing very easily, as compared to like Resto Druid, where I kitty weave and having to shapeshift and go back and then look at my combo points and so forth. It's a little bit harder and not as ideal. And no, I don't Boomkin do damage. I always kitty weave for sure. That's the way to go if you want to do the most damage. But even doing damage as a druid in Moonkin form, you still have to shapeshift, which is really obnoxious. But anyways, doing DPS as a Holy Priest, it's fun. I like it. It's simple and easy to do. We ended up having some additional problems when we came to Morchi. The mage is dead, and this is actually the second time he died. He got a battle res. And I swear, anytime I bring a Demon Hunter DPS into this dungeon, something happens. And you know, now that I think about it, I think any time that I highlight a funny death, it is always a Demon Hunter. I don't know what the correlation is with that, but you know, something to think about. And not 30 seconds after losing our first Demon Hunter, this happens. I'm sorry, but you guys need to figure out how to control your character, because this is becoming a serious issue. And also, let's be honest, the DK could probably have finished out this boss on their own without a healer, but hey, you know, I'm here to support and give that extra damage. So we were able to take down Morchi with just the 2 of us. I'm gonna be honest, this last boss went a lot smoother than I was anticipating. We did end up losing one of the Demon Hunters, but I checked. It was, he just didn't move out of a mechanic rather than jumping into a mechanic that time. So we did end up timing the key. Thankfully, we got +2 and giving us 110 Mythic Plus points. And unfortunately, we did not get any loot this time. You know, I feel like whenever you want loot, you don't get it. I was running keys the other day with a friend of mine on my main where I don't need any loot at all, and I swear I got a piece of loot every single dungeon that we did. I think we did like 5. And here I'm trying to get loot on my alt, and we're just not getting lucky. Next dungeon on the list, we are headed to a +16 Blackrook hold. And taking a look at the DPS here, the damage is not terrible. It's a +16, like what are we expecting? We're not expecting a whole lot, right? This Feral is obviously pumping pretty hard, and here he dies, and I thought he disconnected because after he died, after this trash gets pulled, we tried to resurrect him or whatever, and he was DC'd, and I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. He got disconnected during the fight. But actually taking a look at my map here, he does not get disconnected. He dies and then immediately leaves the dungeon. Guys, why is this a thing? Why can't we just do a dungeon and complete it? I understand some of the damage maybe isn't up to your par, but again, it's a plus 16. Now this man just wasted all of our time, and now we're going to start looking for a new key. And we tried to run it back with the same group at a plus 15, but nobody wanted to, so we had to end up pugging a different key, but hey, maybe that was for the better. Here we are now in our last key, going to be a plus 15 Waycrest Manor. And as any Waycrest Manor goes, we start off looking pretty good, and then we get to the courtyard, and for whatever reason, whenever we get to the courtyard, that's when just all hell breaks loose. So we lose our tank, we lose a DPS, and obviously the rest of us are going to follow with everybody else being dead. Those infected thorns that these witches cast are no joke. I cannot heal through them. If you're tanking or DPSing, those have to be the #1 priority, getting the kicks, getting the stuns, and having them being your primary target to get them killed the fastest. After the full group wipe, we did recover and finish up the rest of the trash without any other issues. And I just wanted to highlight this boss. We ended up with a total of 48 stacks on the Goliath without having to clear. I just have to point that out every time because I hate when tanks drag the boss into the fire, because it's just a pain in the butt, and it's completely possible to kill the boss without ever having to drag him into the fire. I did end up having another death earlier from the witches right before the second to last boss. We didn't get the kicks on the soul bolts and it took me out. Not a big deal. We were able to recover and get the +2 on this one, giving us 164 points, bringing us up to 1344 score. Now I'm hoping to get some loot out of this, and of course we don't, because I actually want loot, so therefore we don't get it. And we are going to finish it up there. Once again, I appreciate you guys for sticking through the entire video and hanging out. Like I said, I apologize for this video taking so much longer than it has previously, because I went on vacation and then just got kind of caught up in life. So we are back, and I'm going to keep making videos, and I'm super excited for the content that I have planned coming up for season 4 as well. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully we can hit 2500 IO on this character before season 4 comes out. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe, or hop over when I'm streaming on Twitch. All of it is appreciated. So thanks again, and we'll see you guys in the next one.